Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text 16. Gnanena tu tadagnanam yesham nashitam atmanah tesham adityavad gnanam prakashayati tatparam. So these last four verses, 13, 14, 15, 16, these are the verses by which, or these are the verses based on the platform of knowledge. In these verses, three kinds of doers are discussed. One is the living entity, then the material nature, and then the super soul, or the Supreme Lord. The living entity is, because of his association with nature, he uses his free will in a particular way, influenced by that swabhava. And the material nature is the one who is tossing him in these waves. And ultimately the Lord sanctions all these activities. So this is called knowledge. One who does not have this knowledge, it is said in the previous verse, that one who is bewildered by this ajnana, he gets bewildered. But in this verse it is said, one who has proper knowledge of all these things. Gnanena tu tat ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha. Atmanaha ajnanam nashitam. The soul's ajnanam becomes nashitam, or destroyed by this gnana. And such gnana, adityavat gnanam, just like a sun, it prakashayati tatparam, it reveals everything. Tatparam means in Krishna consciousness. So, this is the context of this verse. In this verse, Prabhupada explains how gnana is the proper Krishna conscious gnana, by which the ignorance, agnanam nashitam, or the nations, will be destroyed. So what is this agnanam? Agnanam means, firstly, the living entity considers himself this body. That is one agnanam. The second agnanam is, Prabhupada explains, the living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, he thinks himself God unceremoniously. He actually falls into the last snare of nations. So this is another agnanam. Of course, we understand, if you consider yourself as this body, that is agnanam. But not many understand that considering yourself as God is even another last snare of Maya. I had a colleague long time ago when I was in India. So I was following this Krishna consciousness, and one time he spoke to me and he asked me what this is all about. I said, yeah, we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. Our duty is to serve Krishna, and all these things I was explaining. And then he got upset. He said, I don't serve anybody, man. I am God. I don't want to surrender, bow down to anybody. I am God. So I was like, there are many people like that. And I was quite surprised of course, he was youngster and known to be quite rebellious in his attitude and thought process and all of that. So there are a lot of so-called gurus, they influence these minds of these people. For example, one modern guru, he says that you are God, we are all God. anything you accept less than that is a compromise. You are God, and anything less is a compromise. So these are the kinds of teachings these people do. And people, they want to hear nice things said about them. Oh, I'm God, I'm this, I'm that. I don't have to serve anybody. I can enjoy. You can do whatever you want. If you are God, so why are you struggling in this world? Why are you undergoing suffering? For a small toothache, you have to go to the doctor. So-called avatars who say, I'm the avatar, why there are doctors treating them, why they are getting old, why they are dying. So unfortunately, people don't have intelligence to consider all these things. If you are God, why you are forced to suffer? If you ask this question, they will say, oh, this is my Leela. I want to experience this life like this. I want to experience the Leela of an ordinary man, a common man undergoing struggles of this world. So if you are put under illusion, then illusion is higher than God. And that's the argument Prabhupada gives here. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nations? Does God become bewildered by nations? If so, then nations or Saturn is greater than God. So by their philosophy, they are actually propagating atheism. It is nothing but atheism. Because if they say God can be overcome by nations or illusion, then the atheists will say, oh, that is not God. You foolish people, you are thinking that is God. So that means God doesn't exist. So this is what it is. This is the last snare of Maya. All these kinds of things are classified under Ajnanam. As much as the Mayavadis, they might think, oh, we are Gnanis, and therefore we are all God. We'll all merge into impersonal effulgence. This is all Ajnanam, the last snare of Maya. So what is Gnanam? So Prabhupada explains in the purport, perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahunam janmanam ante gnanavan mam prapadyate. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him as the sun reveals everything in the daytime. So that is Krishna consciousness. That is a real sign of Gnana. So two things Prabhupada mentioned. One is to surrender to a spiritual master. That is the first sign of Gnana. So Gnana is not by which you become puffed up, you think you are knowledgeable and you don't have to surrender or submit to anybody. As Krishna defines later in 13th chapter, Gnana means amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirajyavam acharyopasanam saucham sthiryam. To become humble, amanitvam, to become prideless, adambhitvam, acharyopasanam, to submit, surrender to a spiritual master. That is a sign of Gnana. And the bona fide spiritual master, what does he say? He says, you surrender to Krishna. The intelligent person, Krishna says, the real Gnani is somebody who surrenders to Krishna eventually. Bahunam janmanam ante gnanavan mam prapadyate. So why not immediately surrender to Krishna? If a Gnani has to go through many, many births and then surrender to Krishna, why not immediately surrender to Krishna? Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna yei bhaje sei bada chatur. One who serves Krishna, one who surrenders to Krishna, he is very intelligent, bada chatur. Everyone else is foolish like a donkey. So, there was one Dr. Shukla. He was hearing Prabhupada's explanations and he asked Srila Prabhupada to explain, because Prabhupada said, these bogus gurus, they say instead of surrendering to Krishna, you become yourself God. Or even the rituals that the Vedic literature prescribe, which make you promoted to higher planets. All these are kinds of Kaitava Dharma, meaning cheating religion. So this Dr. Shukla asked Prabhupada to explain what is this Kaitava Dharma, cheating religion. And then Prabhupada explained to him that it means that it is done for no spiritual profit. So the Dr. Shukla, he said, so is the fruitive activities come under that category? Like when we go to do a particular ritual for a particular devata, you go and ask, oh, please fulfill my desire. Please fulfill this desire. I'll worship you. Is this Kaitava Dharma? Then Prabhupada, he said, this is not bhakti. This is business. Give this much money and I will do your work. If you give this much or you offer that and you get back something, that is business. That is not bhakti. And then Dr. Shukla asked, then there is a discrepancy in Bhagavad Gita. So what is that? Oh, Krishna says there are 4 kinds of people who surrender to him, and one of them is those who are in need. They ask something from Krishna. So in his mind, this Dr. Shukla, he was thinking that, oh, therefore even devotees have some desire of their own. That is why they are coming to Krishna. Then how is it not business? It's a very interesting question. Bhakti is not business, but then Krishna himself is saying 4 kinds of devotees surrender to me. One of them is a businessman or who is asking to resolve some distress. Arto jigna surardhardhi gnani cha bharatarshabha chaturvidha bhajante mam. So Prabhupada clarified that when Krishna says the Sukrutis, the pious people, they come and surrender to Krishna, he is not in a devotional state. He is pious. He is not a devotee yet. He is pious for the reason that somehow he approached God. That is his credit. Just like coming to the fire, there will be heat. So there will be benefit. That is why the Shastra says, even if you have business mentality, even if you have material desire, still go to Krishna. Then your desire will be fulfilled and you will be cleansed and your business will gradually become bhakti. Akamaha sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradhihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. The prescription from Bhagavatam is, even if you are full of material desires, go to Krishna only, because you will get everything. Bhagavatam says, Uddhava tells to Krishna, Tam tva khilatmada iteshvaramasritanam sarvardhadam svakrutavid visrujeta konu ko va bhajet kimapi vismrutayenu bhutyai kim va bhajen natavapada rajo jushamnah. He says, my Lord, approaching you, surrendering to you, sarvardha, it will give you everything. Sarvardhadam, the purpose of everything will be solved. What need is there? Whoever surrenders to Krishna's lotus feet, what he cannot get. Yavai sadhana sampatti purushartha chatushtaye taya vina tadapnoti naro narayanashraya. Whatever is there in the realm of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, everything is in the grasp of such a devotee. Krishna can give everything, but he gives what is good for you. Just like a rich father, he can give everything to the child. But if he gives prematurely, the child will misutilize it, doesn't know how to use it, and he'll get corrupted, and he'll become a debauchee. He'll become a vagabond. So he withholds and releases at the right time while working on the progress of the child. So we have to approach our original father for whatever we have. Then our business will gradually become bhakti. So Prabhupada explained, he told Dr. Shukla that these karmis who want bhakti, the gnani who want mukti, the karmis, they want bhukti, not bhakti. Bhukti means enjoyment. The gnani, they want mukti. Mukti means liberation and merging into impersonal effulgence. The yogi, they want siddhi, means they want some yoga siddhi by which they can become smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, and display some magic. They are all ashanta. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali ashanta. Only Krishna bhakta nishkama ateva shanta. So, because bhakta only wants bhakti. Bhakti means only giving service to Krishna, not asking something. That is the eternal relationship with the Lord. Our original relationship with the Lord. The bhakta's position is very, very unique. So that is called gnanam. Approaching a bona fide spiritual master and surrendering to Krishna. And then Prabhupada said in the purport, Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the second chapter, 2.12, that every living being is individual and that the Lord is also individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at the present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha. So it's not that we'll go and merge into the impersonal effulgence. We will always be individuals. This is actually, we have taken this for granted, but many people, they have no idea about this. They either consider themselves as body, or they think this soul is only for this life, and after that it annihilates. So I was seeing this Westerner, some recommendation came on YouTube, shorts. So this Westerner, he was reciting Bhagavad Gita. 2 shlokas he recited. One of them is this, 2.12. And then he said, this is a game changer because this establishes that we are not this body. And this also establishes that we are not only soul, but we are eternal. And we will remain eternal individually. And this body is transmigrating. This is another thing. In the next verse he quoted, Dehinosmin yadha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tada dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. Even though the soul is eternal, because it has accepted this body, and the body undergoes these changes, and at the time he will pass to another body. But the soul itself is eternal. So Bhagavad Gita opens up such rich knowledge. But unfortunately, if you go to a bogus spiritual master or use your own mental concoction, then you will come to a different conclusion, a wrong conclusion. So therefore you have to go to a bona fide spiritual master. So that Prabhupada mentions, the spiritual master can drive away all nations as the sun drives away darkness. So, one time Prabhupada was asked, what is self-realization? Prabhupada said, self-realization means realizing Krishna. Then that person asked, how is it self-realization? You're always telling Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. How is realizing Krishna is self-realization? I'm asking about myself, not Krishna. And then Prabhupada said, he showed the sun and he said, the sunlight. So, if I asked you to show yourself or see yourself in the night time, can you see yourself? He said, no. Why? Because there is darkness, I cannot see. But can you see yourself now? Yes, I can see myself. Can you see me? Yes, I can see you. Why? Because there is sunlight. That means when you realize the sun, only then you can see yourself. Similarly, when you realize Krishna, then only it is proper self-realization. We are so puffed up about, can you show me God? Isn't it? People, that they ask this question. Oh, if you say God exists, show me God. But they cannot understand that they think they have ability to see, they have their eyes, their vision to see things, that they can see God. But unless God sees, they cannot even see. How? Because this sun and the moon, they are considered to be the eyes of the Lord. Yat chakshuresha savita sakalagrahanam raja samasta suramurti rasesha teja. The sun is considered to be the eyeball of the Lord. It is spreading the sunshine everywhere, heat and light. That means without the Lord seeing, we don't have, even if we have these eyes, we are so proud of our eyesight. Our eyesight is useless without sunlight. That is why it is called conditioned living entity. We have conditions, under certain conditions we can operate. Under certain conditions we can see. Under certain conditions we can hear. There are so many frequencies that we cannot see or hear. Therefore, we are conditioned and we are so proud of our seeing and our knowledge. Oh, show me God. What power you have to see God? What is the power of your eyesight? So, all these kind of nations, these are all nations or ignorance. The spiritual master can drive away all nations as the sun drives away darkness. And then Prabhupada says in the purport, even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the super soul. This is talking about the Gnanis. The Gnanis, they think they are not this body, they are spirit soul, but that is not the end of it. There is still higher. What is the cause of your spirit soul? The super soul is there. And then the cause of the super soul, ultimately it is Krishna, the cause of all causes. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So somebody asks this question. This is another question. People think they are very intelligent. Oh, if everything is if everything is coming from God, how did God come from? They think, oh, there has to be origin of everything. For this cause, there is this cause. For this cause, there is this cause. Then ultimately, what caused God? So there is a fallacy in that argument, because when we say, so there is a circle and then there is a square. Circle is always circle and square is always a square. We cannot say square circle because such a thing doesn't exist. So similarly, we cannot say there is somebody else who produced God, because that somebody who produced God becomes God. Because God is not produced from anybody. God is independent. He is the creator, the ultimate cause of all causes. If somebody or something produced God, that becomes the God, not this person. So God by definition cannot be said to be produced from something. He is ultimate. He is the cause of all causes. And that person, Krishna. So one devotee was sharing his memory. So he was going and making life members in India, the Westerner. And he came back to Prabhupada and he he said, oh, this man is asking why I should worship Krishna. There can be somebody who even caused Krishna. I want to worship that somebody. And then Prabhupada said, yes, as far as we are concerned, our knowledge goes, everything is originated from Krishna. And if you find that there is somebody else who caused Krishna, you tell us, and then we will worship that person. But until that, you worship Krishna. So that's a fact. All the scriptures are saying Krishna is the cause. Krishna himself is the saying. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. So this is real knowledge. So that's what Prabhupada concludes in the purport. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. So the representative of God or the spiritual master has to be treated on the same platform, Sakshat Haritvena, because he is representative of God. He is giving God. But of course, he is not God. We should not think that he is same as Krishna, but we should give all respect as due Krishna. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sadar Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this lecture. One question I have is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, like he also came like a normal human being. So how can we differentiate when Krishna comes like that versus like Sai Baba? So many pray to Sai Baba, Lord Sai Baba, and then they have this in Shirdi, right? So how will we differentiate? And some people, they say they are Avadutas. And we also have Kapila Muni, which they say is an incarnation of Lord too. So if we don't believe at some point, how will we? Even when Krishna came, nobody believed. So many didn't believe. So if we don't believe, then we fall into nuisance category. But if we believe, then so how will you make the differentiation?
Yeah, very good question. So the avatara has to be ascertained by the scriptures, and then the sadhus, they ascertain his lakshana. Firstly, avatara never says he is avatara. Avatara has to be mentioned in the scriptures. All the avatars that we worship, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is mentioned in the scriptures. Suvarna Varno Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam. But even though he came as a Channa avatara, Channaha Kalau Yadabhavas Triyugoda Sattvam, In the Kali Yuga, he appears as a Channa avatar, a hidden incarnation. He comes as a devotee. So we can understand from scriptural quotations that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation. So similarly, any other person who claims to be incarnation, he has to be mentioned in scriptures. If it is not mentioned in scriptures, we cannot accept anybody as incarnation. And not just the scriptures, there are bodily marks on the soles of such a person, on the palms of such a person. They are described how the special marks are there. And his lakshana has to be confirmed. He's exhibiting these qualities. Oh, the Shastra says Kalki will come and he will do so and so, so and so, so and so activities. Or Buddha will come and do so and so activities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will do so and so activities. So we have to ascertain the Shastra and the bodily features and the activities they do. They all have to conform. Only then we can understand somebody to be incarnation. Otherwise, we cannot accept anybody as incarnation.
But God can come anytime, anywhere, wherever He wants. Why are we only restricting Him to Vedas, whatever is said in Vedas? Then aren't we again putting a restriction?
No, God can come anywhere and everywhere. But for protecting the innocent people, He Himself becomes subject to the Vedic literature, Bhagavatam,
Okay.
so that the innocent people are not misled.
Okay. Then what is the role of Avaduta then?
What is Avadhuta? What do you mean by Avadhuta?
I have no clue. But there are like Ramana Maharishi, and people say these are like.
No, as I said, anybody who claims to be avatar but who is not mentioned in scriptures, they are not avatar. They are bogus. So I have not seen Ramana Maharshi mentioned anywhere in the scriptures to be avatar. So I don't know what you mean by Avadhut. Avadhut, by what I understand by Avadhut, is a ordinary jiva, ordinary living entity who becomes perfect, transcendental, or who becomes perfectly Krishna conscious. He becomes an Avadhuta in the sense that he is not obliged to follow any Varnashrama dharma. He can do anything and everything because he's always thinking about God. So he doesn't have to conform to Varnashrama. He doesn't have to be executing any yagnas or duties as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or duties of a husband or as a sannyasi, because he's always serving Krishna in whatever capacity. He's called Avadhut. So that's quite different from what you are referring to, this probably bogus avatars or bogus gurus.
So even Sai Baba too then?
Yeah. Sai Baba never, of course, I am referring to Shirdi Sai Baba. He never claimed he was God. The followers started to claim he is God. Of course, Satya Sai Baba claimed that he is God, but we have Prabhupada conversations and letters to him saying how you are claiming yourself as God. Prabhupada wrote a letter to him with point by point how you are God. Well, where does it mention you are God? All these things Prabhupada had mentioned.
So Shirdi Sai Baba is an Avaduta then, knowing Krishna.
I don't know if he is Avadhuta, but he never claimed he is God.
Okay. So I see so many books on. I had been gifted before coming to Krishna conscious. I have read those books. There has been so many stories of these Avadutas books, and they say that they're self-realized. But then they are not into Krishna conscious though, but they have realized the self, meaning maybe in everybody there is Paramatma. So that is the feature that they have realized.
Yeah, they may have realized that they are spirit soul. That's what Prabhupada also says in the purport, that one can come to this stage that they are spirit soul and not the body. But that's not the end of it. There are higher stages of understanding. Oh, spirit soul, where does it come from? Just as I said, unless you realize the sun, you cannot realize yourself. Unless you realize Krishna, you cannot fully realize yourself. It's a partial realization. Krishna also mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. People who realize themselves as spirit soul, they are siddhis. But one who understands Krishna, that is param siddhi, that is the highest siddhi. So yeah, people might have realized themselves as spirit soul. Like in Bhagavatam also we see Kumaras, Shukadeva Goswami, they were all Brahman realized. But when Krishna was presented, Krishna consciousness was given, they accepted and got to the higher level of realization. So there are stages.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. These are the questions that were asked by so many people when I tell them about Krishna consciousness, to come into Krishna consciousness. And I don't know how to answer them. So thank you so much for clarifying all this. And then one more question they ask is, if you say then Krishna is tell them they can show the Visvarupa or something like how Krishna did. That is one example that Prabhupada asks us to quote. If I say that, then how come Krishna and your Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you're saying also left the bodies like ordinary people? That is one more question that I get.
Yeah, as I said, firstly, they're mentioned in scriptures, they're confirmed by acharyas, sadhus, by their activities. So from that itself, we can confirm their avatars. Secondly, when they leave the body, there are many reasons why they appear to leave the body like an ordinary living entity. Like Rishabhadeva, for example, he was burnt in the forest fire, they say. But even ordinary soul cannot be burnt. Krishna says, how can he be burnt, the Supreme Lord? So, when such incidents happen, it is to bewilder the atheists so that they can become a stronger atheist. See, your God, he died like this, being shot down by a hunter. He died in the forest fire. What kind of God he is? So they get a stronger argument, isn't it?
Mm.
So they can become a stronger atheist. So externally, because we can only see matter. Even if Krishna comes, as you said, we can only see him as an ordinary mortal being made of earth, water, air, fire, ether, because we cannot see anything else. So when he departs, he has to depart like that only, in a way that we can see. So that is to bewilder those. But
Thank
a devotee who takes the guidance of the spiritual master does not get bewildered.
that answers. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.